Hi, this is Brandon from Talk Tech, back here again with another video. Today we're continuing the QEMU-KVM series. I'm going to be covering snapshots. This is actually going to be part one of a two-part series on snapshots. They're a pretty complex issue when it comes to Linux. So I wanted to be able to cover them in detail, both types of snapshots, which I'll be getting into here shortly. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about snapshot is what the heck a snapshot is. So essentially what a snapshot is it is a image of a system at a point in time. So if you take a snapshot of the system right now, it's going to reflect as the state is at this very moment. So it's great as like I don't want to use the term backup because really snapshots aren't backups, but they are a means to revert back if you're testing something. Don't use that. Definitely don't use them as like long-term backups or anything like that. But if you're maybe trying to roll out some new applications across your entire network, and you're like, well, let me see if this works. So you can spin it up in a VM, and then save before spinning it up. What you'll do is you'll save a snapshot. Go ahead, update the applications, and then see what happens with the applications. Everything works great, then hey, you can move on. But if not, you can always revert back to the original state to make sure that you don't have any disruption in your network. So when it comes to snapshots, there's going to be a default location, and that's going to be, we're just actually going to go over there. We're going to go cd var libvirt QEMU and snapshots. All right, and currently there's nothing in this directory, but this is the location where they're going to be at. So there's two types of snapshots. There's internal and external. Internal ones are contained within the QCal file, which is the virtual machine disk file, and are supported by the GUI. Now these internal snapshots are only going to work with QCal formatted disk, so keep that in mind. Now external, the original disk becomes read only, and a new overlay disk image is created for the updated writes, and this is not supported by the GUI. The original image will show as a backing image for the created snapshot. You will need to keep the backing image for the snapshot to function. And this one will actually work with both QCal and RAW formatted disk images. Now, just to kind of give you the two primary formats, but keep in mind these are not all the formats that are available when it comes to disk images. The first one is going to be RAW. This is a RAW disk with no metadata, has low overhead, so great performance, but does not have features such as internal snapshots or compression. QCal2, made for virtualization, includes features such as read-only backing files, internal and external snapshots, compression, and encryption. You can always check the file type with the file command or the QEMU image info commands to get the file type information. Let's go ahead and go back to the root home directory. And we've got two files here. So let's go ahead and do file test QCal. All right, and here we go. It tells us here it is a QCal image, and it gives us the size there as well. Now let's go ahead and do that with the raw image file. Now this one just says data because that's essentially what it is. There's really nothing special about it. It's just raw data, which was why it has the name of raw. So the other one you can do is QEMU image info, and then we'll just do test QCal, and we can see here this one gives us quite a bit more output. It tells us the virtual size, gives us the current disk size, which right now is only 196 kilobytes. It's got compression type, lazy accounts. Yeah, it gives us quite a bit more information than the other simple command did. So we can see right here in the file format is where it actually says the QCal format. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same thing with the raw image. And we can see here that this one is a bit shorter just because it's quite a bit simpler than the QCal image. It's got it listed right here at the top, gives us the virtual size, gives us the disk size, Now, one of the things that I can tell you that's a big difference between RAW and QCOW format is that the QCOW format will allow you to set a maximum size for the image, and then it will fill it up as it goes. Now, if you do a raw image, it's basically going to set aside all that storage at the onset so that it's already accounted for. So it gives you a bit less flexibility if you're running up into storage issues, or if you're concerned about storage issues, you may want to consider QCOW because you may not use that, right? You may want 50 gig. You may have like, the standard image for your network is going to be, maybe it's a 50 gig disk image. Well, if you were to use raw format, that's going to be 50 gigs every time you do it. Well, that, like really once I install everything, is it's going to be, maybe 8 gigs that's going to be used on most of these machines. But I'd like to have that flexibility just in case one of them runs into a problem. Like, say for example, one of them, there's some kind of issue on it and it's just blowing up the log files and they're just growing and growing and growing and growing, and that one balloons to, 45 gigs. Now, you have the flexibility because all the other ones are at 8. This one's at 45. If they had all been at 50, you wouldn't be able to host as many machines. So that's something to take into account. Now, with snapshots, they can be run while the machine is running. The machine will go into like a temporary pause state while the snapshot is being created. Which you'll actually see as we're running the create command. You'll see like a slight like hiccup, if you will. As it's doing it, there'll be a slight delay from when we enter the command to when it gives us the output saying, "Hey, everything is Gucci here." Now, this one will cover internal snapshots, and we introduced a bit of external snapshots, kind of as I said at the onset. External snapshots will be covered in more details in the follow-up video, so make sure you're subscribed for that and any other future videos that I'm going to have coming out in regards to this series and other Linux type content. Now, let's go ahead and talk about just briefly on converting a VM disk format. Say you've already got a script in place and it creates, raw images, but you really would prefer to have your raw images in QCOW format because you want the flexibility that it offers. So that's a pretty easy thing to fix. Is you could just do QEMU image, and we're going to do convert. And then we're going to do the file. We're going to do the format of the file of its current. I'm sorry. We're going to do the format of the disk image currently, which in this case is going to be raw. And then we're going to go ahead and do a TAC O, and that's what the F is for. F is for format when it comes to QEMU, which is going to be the current format. And then we have the TAC capital O, which is going to be what format do you want it to be in. And in this case, we're going to type in QCOW2, and then we'll do the source image, which is going to be test.raw. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to give it a name, is we're just going to do test.raw.q. All right, perfect. Now if we go ahead and get in there, we can now see the additional formatted disk image, and we can just do a quick file on it. Test.raw.q. And there we go. We can see that now it's in a QCOW format. Now we can do the same thing going from QCOW to RAW. The reverse happens, right? Your company has images in QCOW, but you prefer them in RAW because you want fixed amount of storage for better performance for your application. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do QEMU image convert. We're going to do type F. We're going to do QCOW2, and then we're going to do TAC O. We're going to do raw, and then we're going to do test.QCOW. And we're going to do test.QCOW.R. Perfect. And there we go. Let's go ahead and just run a quick QEMU IMG and info on the test.raw.q, and whoops, typed that in there wrong. Let's go ahead and fix that. And there we go. All right, and we can see that this one is indeed now a raw size. I'm sorry, is in a actually. And whoops, sorry about that. Looks like I did that wrong. We got to do the qcow.r, and there we go. That looks much better. All right, so perfect. Yeah, that shows you right there how to convert the VM disk formats, should you need that. Now, let's go ahead and cover getting information about snapshots. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and enter a Control L to go ahead and just take this back up to the top line. One of the great things about using Control L is that it will go ahead and just bring you down. It'll bring the current prompt to the top, but it'll still kind of keep your history there just in case you want to scroll back. All right, so let's cover getting information about snapshots. So when it comes to getting information about snapshots, the go-to command is going to be versh snapshot and then -list. All right, see there, and you can see here from the areas it says snapshot list requires domain. So you're going to make sure to put the domain name. And currently this one doesn't have any because we haven't created any yet. So the one that we're going to be using for this one is it's going to be actually be test. And we can see that test does not have any either. Now, there's a couple of other commands that you can use. I shouldn't say commands, but other options that you can use for this command. One of them is tac-tac. It's tac-tac parent. With the tac-tac parent option, it's going to show the child-parent relationship of the snapshot to the primary virtual machine or domain. It gives you the sequence of snapshots just in case the naming convention does not show the order. Now, you can also use tac-tac tree. This will give you the child-parent relationship in a tree format, and I can show you those once we actually have some VMs. The other command is going to be versh snapshot is going to be snapshot info, and then tac-tac snapshot name, and we're actually going to put in a tac-tac domain. All right, so this is going to be the command here. Reverse snapshot info, domain, and then snapshot name. This right here is going to give you info in regards to an individual snapshot. Now, in front and after domain, you're going to, of course, put the virtual machine name, and then after snapshot name is you're going to put the name of the snapshot. We will cover this. I will go back and show you these commands once we've actually created some snapshot images. All right, the next one is going to be the versh snapshot current, and then tac name. Now with this particular command, let me show it to you here. What this command is going to do is it's going to allow you to see which snapshot is currently being used. So if you don't put the tac name on there, it's going to give you the full XML output. I don't typically find that useful, so I typically am just going to use this with tac name, just to make sure that I've got everything that I need in one simple command. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about creating, deleting, and snapshots. So creating a snapshot is pretty simple. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and just do first snapshot create as, and then we're going to go ahead and put tac domain peppermint test, and then we're going to put name. We're going to call this peppermint test tac 1, and then we're going to go ahead and give a description. We're going to make sure we put that in quotes. Description is first snapshot. Now keep in mind the description is optional. You don't have to put you don't have to put it on there. That's really a great practice though, because then you'll know exactly what is going on with that particular snapshot, especially if you go long periods of time without looking at your snapshots individually. So the other option that you're going to tack on there as well is you're going to go ahead and do atomic. Now, with atomic, what that is going to do is it's going to allow libvirt to guarantee that the snapshot either succeeds or fails with no changes. So let's go ahead and just hit enter. All right, perfect. And we can see now that domain snapshot peppermint test 1 has been created. So let's issue a versh snapshot info. Okay, what did I forget here? Let's see. Let's take a look here. Oops, you know what I meant to do? My apologies. I meant to do the list command first. Let's do that. There we go. That's what we were looking for. And we can see that currently that snapshot is showing as shut off. Now, that's because I currently have it running. Now, let's go ahead and look at the versh snapshot info, and then we're going to do tac domain peppermint test, and then we're going to do tac snapshot name peppermint test, and then tac 1. All right, perfect. And we can see details in regards to this snapshot right there. Let's check one more command here. Let's do versh snapshot tac current peppermint tac test. Spell that right. Oops. See, that's what it looks like with that, and I forgot the name on there. Tac name. Perfect. Now we can see that the current snapshot is peppermint test tac 1. So now let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and create a second one. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to versh destroy. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I actually don't have peppermint test on. My apologies. We'll just do a versh list tac all. And we can see there that it is indeed off. So that's why that one is showing as off. But if we went ahead and let's do an experiment here. Actually, no, we'll save that for something else. Never mind. So let's go ahead and create a second snapshot. What we're going to do is we're going to go in here, versh snapshot tac create. But this time we're going to leave off the as. Now we're doing it a little bit differently this time because we want to go ahead and accomplish the same thing, but we don't want to put in the description or a name associated with it. What this version of the command will do is it will go ahead and actually it'll do a naming convention with a number by default to go ahead and make things just a bit easier on you. So we'll just do peppermint tac test. And there we go. So if we go into versh snapshot tac list peppermint test, we can see that there is indeed a number there. But now let's see which one is actually there currently. So let's do that. Let's do versh snapshot current peppermint test. And again, I forgot the name, tac name, and then I didn't leave a space there, going too fast. And there we go. So now we can see that we're now we're on our second snapshot. But it's like, well, say we just did an upgrade and we're like, yeah, this upgrade's breaking stuff. Let's go ahead and revert back. That's pretty easy as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go versh snapshot revert. I'm gonna do tac domain peppermint test, and then we're gonna do tac snapshot name, and then we're gonna do peppermint test tac1. There we go. Now let's go ahead and do versh snapshot list. I'm sorry, snapshot current peppermint test. And again, I forgot the name. And there we go. We successfully made it back to the first snapshot that we created. So perfect. All right, and so let's move on to deleting a snapshot. Now, deleting a snapshot is pretty easy. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and just issue the versh, and then snapshot delete, and then we're going to go ahead and put in the VM name, which is peppermint test, and then we're going to do the snapshot name, which is, let's go back up here and get the correct name for the snapshot with this goofy number. Whoa, sorry about that. Accidentally zoomed all the way out on the terminal. So we got the number there. And there we go. So let's go ahead and issue a versh snapshot tac list. And we'll do peppermint test. And boom, we've only got the one that we are currently on. So, hey, it broke our application, but we recovered. We went back to where we were, and everything is good again. So, all right, that's all I have for today's video. Thank you very much for tagging along. These snapshots were very new to me, and even now, it's not something that I do very often. And honestly, I usually just run them through Vert Manager. But hey, that's what this is about. This series is about learning, and we're gonna make mistakes along the way, and we're gonna learn together. So I really want to thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. And either way, let me know what you like, what you didn't like. Ideas for future videos and things that you want to see. And make sure to have the best of days. And thanks again.